Washington House and Senate Republicans faced a new round of uncertainty on Thursday about the fate of their $1.5 trillion tax bill, with the possible defection of a Republican Senator, Marco Rubio of Florida, amid continuing questions about how the bill will be paid for and how much of the benefits will flow to low and middle-income people versus corporations. Republicans, who reached agreement Wednesday on a merged version of the House and Senate tax plans, expect to unveil the final bill on Friday and vote on the legislation early next week so that it can be sent to President Trump before Christmas. But those plans were thrown into some disarray on Thursday when Mr. Rubio said that he would vote no on the bill unless it included a more generous version of the child tax credit, which he and another Republican Senator, Mike Lee of Utah, have been pushing for to benefit lower-income individuals. "I think my requests have been pretty reasonable and consistent and direct," Mr. Rubio said. A spokesman for Mr. Lee said he was undecided on the bill. Mr. Rubio and Mr. Lee have been pressing Republican leaders to expand the child tax credit to make it more generous for low-income families. That change would further drive up the cost of the tax bill, which can add no more than $1.5 trillion to federal deficits over a decade if the bill is to pass without Democrat support. In a tweet on Thursday afternoon, Mr. Rubio needled Republican leadership, saying tax negotiators didn't have much trouble finding a way to lower the top tax bracket and to have the corporate tax cut take effect a year early. Republican negotiators responsible for merging the two bills have made a host of changes to assuage the concerns of businesses and some fellow lawmakers. Those tweaks, which include eliminating the corporate alternative minimum tax and dropping the top individual tax rate to 37% from the current rate of 39.6%, are expected to drive up the cost of the bill and will need to be paid for to stay in the $1.5 trillion box. "We're literally trying to squeeze about $2 trillion in tax reform into a $1.5 trillion box, and that's been a problem," Senator Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, said this week. Mr. Johnson held out on supporting the initial version of the Senate tax bill until it gave more generous tax breaks to so-called pass-through businesses, whose owners pay taxes on profits through the individual code. Republican lawmakers have so far said little about how the final version of the legislation will be paid for, other than agreeing to nudge the corporate tax rate to 21% from the 20% in both the Senate and House bills. The present tax rate is 35%. One idea under consideration, according to Senator Thom Tillis, Republican of North Carolina, is raising the tax rate on profits that companies have parked overseas. But on Thursday, Republicans were running out of time to make changes and showed little patience for acceding to new demands. Representative Kevin Brady, Republican of Texas and the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, cast doubt on further altering the child tax credit. "We're at 11:59 on the clock and really the pens ought to be down," he said on CNN.